working to connect a region of over 600 million bridges between our lands.
Good evening, I'm Alma Angeles and you're watching ASEAN in Focus on tonight's headlines. A bomb attack targeting a Catholic mass in the southern Philippine city of Marawi has left at least 4 people dead, dozens more injured. At least 2 more earthquakes have struck Surigao del Sur in the country today. A volcano in western Indonesia has erupted, sending a plume of ash soaring 3 kilometers into the sky and prompting the evacuation of dozens of hikers. The Philippine Coast Guard has detected a significant increase in the number of Chinese vessels in the vicinity of Whitsun Reef, also known as Julian Felipe Reef. A bomb attack targeting a Catholic mass in the southern Philippine city of Marawi has left at least 4 people dead and dozens more injured. The blast occurred during a morning service at Mindanao State University's gymnasium, casting a shadow over the predominantly Muslim city that was besieged by Islamist militant groups in 2017. Police Lieutenant General Emmanuel Peralta confirmed the death toll and the number of wounded, stating that the explosion was caused by an improvised explosive device. Security officials have suggested that the bombing may have been a retaliatory act in response to recent military operations against Islamist militant groups and the region.
Dahil na dun sa mga sunod-sunod na operation natin against the terrorist groups in the whole area of Western Mindanao, dito sa Maguindanao, sa Lanao, and dito sa Basilan, maaring retaliatory attack yung nangyari kaninang umaga. No? So that is one angle that we are looking into. And we have alerted also our units, all of our units in Mindanao, as well as our other units, just like with the Philippine National Police here in the Metro Manila area.
Pumunta kami sa simbahan po, sa Bandiyan po, tapos nag-start na yung misa, tapos yung lahat, nakafocus lang po sa sa mass, sa mga wali ng pare. Tapos nung first reading na po ng magbabasa na, bigla na po may sumabog ba? Biglaan na po talaga. Tapos nag-stakbuhan po ang lahat. Tapos yung iba na, yung pagtingin ko sa likod, yung iba, yung nakahiga na lang nakahiga na sila sa sahig po ba?
Biglang nagtakbuhan na yung iba. Ako, yung kasama ko, medyo nadapa pa kami. Tapos sabi ko na, Art, tumakbo ka talaga. Kaya yun na po talaga naalala ko na paglabas ko ng gym, doon po ako nadapa.
Vice President and Education Secretary Sara Duterte condemned the attack, characterizing the perpetrators as cowards who prey on civilians.
Kasabay nito ay ang ating mahigpit na pagkondena sa nangyaring pagpapasabog at sa mga tao o grupo na nasa likod nito. Ang mga nasawi at mga sugatan ay mga sibilyan. Nakakabahala na ito ay nangyari sa loob ng MSU compound sa isang katolikong simbahan, sa isang bahagi ng bansa na may mahaba at madugong karanasan sa terorismo. Isa itong gawaing mapangahas, ngunit malinaw rin sa atin na isa itong karuwagan.
President Marcos also expressed his outrage over the bombing, calling it a senseless act of violence that has no place in our society. The Islamic State group has claimed responsibility for the attack, further escalating tensions in the region. Authorities are urging for calm and restraint as they investigate the incident and pursue those responsible.
Nananawagan ako sa mga lahat ng Pilipino, lalo na sa mga Mindanaoan, na maging mahinahon habang nagsasagawa ng investigasyon ang mga otoridad.
And there are indicia of foreign element here which we are looking into. This being a crime scene, the physical investigation of the crime scene shall be left to the appropriate agency, the PNP, so forth. of the area, and as I informed, the senior officials of the PNP are on the way to the area, and in order to coordinate also and to prevent any possibility of any further untoward events happening. We will also coordinate with other law enforcement agencies. The Philippine Coast Guard has also been put on alert, the BID and other agencies, in order to have a robust response to this in accordance with the President's orders. I have also been in touch with Governor Adyong of Lanao del Sur, and I have advised the AFP and suggest to the PNP that we get in touch also with all the pertinent governors, which I am sure, since the PNP has placed the entire Mindanao on red alert, they will be doing so that we can exchange information and we can preempt further events like this from happening.
At least 2 more earthquakes have struck Surigao del Sur in the Philippines today. The first quake, with a magnitude of 6.8, struck 67 kilometers northeast of Caguait at 3:49 a.m. It was 1 kilometer deep. The second quake, with a magnitude of 5.6, also struck the same place. The Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology said the 2 earthquakes are not aftershocks of the magnitude 7.4 earthquake that struck the region last Saturday. FIVOC's director, Teresito Bacolcol, says the 2 earthquakes are likely the result of the movement of the Philippine Trench. The 2 earthquakes follow a series of quakes that have struck the region in recent weeks. On Saturday, a magnitude 7.6 earthquake struck the region, killing at least 2 people, injuring several more.
As of 10 a.m. po, kaninang umaga, nakapag-record po tayo ng 1,726 aftershocks. And yung magnitude nag-range po sa 1.4 to 6.6. Yung ano po, yung mga, well, we have several earthquakes generators. We have 6 trenches, and we have 175 active fault segments. All are capable of generating light to major earthquakes. So there is always this remote possibility na pwede magkasabay-sabay yan or magkasunod-sunod. In fact, every day, we record 20 earthquakes a day. So sabay-sabay po yan. It's just that karamihan sa mga lindol na to ay mga mahihina lamang. Yung trench po is, generator po natin dito is the Philippine Trench. Again, as I've said, we have 6 trenches in the country, and pwede po sila mag-generate ng malalaking lindol. Yung November 17, Cotabato Trench naman. So this time, it's the Philippine Trench. Hindi po ito konektado. Magkalayo po yung magiging source ng the big one natin would be the West Valley Fault. And magkakalayo po yan, the trench sa Surigao, malayo po yan sa the big one. So hindi po yan pwedeng maka-apekto doon sa paggalaw ng West Valley Fault. Yung dito sa Metro Manila, yung West Valley Fault natin is only capable of generating a magnitude 7.2. So, but even then, we would expect around 33,000 casualties. And then, kung i-include natin yung ibang probinsya, halos aabot po yan ng 50,000 casualties. So we really have to prepare. And one of the preparations na kailangan natin gawin is to make sure na yung bahay natin is earthquake resilient.
The recent temblors came some 2 weeks after a 6.7 magnitude quake hit Mindanao, killing at least 9 people, shaking buildings and causing part of a shopping mall ceiling to collapse. Meanwhile, Vice President and Education Secretary Sara Z. Duterte today ordered the implementation of blended learning in all Department of Education or DepEd regional offices affected by the 7.6 magnitude earthquake in Surigao del Sur. In a statement released by the Vice President on her Facebook page, the said order is a step to ensure the safety of students and DepEd staff.
Angay nato kining pangandaman alang sa atong kaluwasan. Ipatuman nato ang blended learning sa mga apektadong lugar hangtod masiguro nga luwas na ang mga estudyante o kawani sa DepEd. Kaugnay nito, nais kong paalalahanan ang lahat ng mga principal at school head sa buong bansa sa Department Order 53 Series of 2022 ng Department of Education o ang mandatory unannounced earthquake and fire drills in schools. Sa paulit-ulit na drills, matututunan nila ang halaga ng presence of mind o pag-iwas na mataranta. Ang drills ang magliligtas sa kanila sa matinding epekto ng mga trahedya.
A volcano in western Indonesia has erupted, sending a plume of ash soaring 3 kilometers into the sky and prompting the evacuation of dozens of hikers. Mount Merapi, located on the island of Sumatra, stands at an elevation of 2,891 meters and is currently at the third highest alert level on Indonesia's four-step volcanic activity warning system.
Belum bersahabat dengan kita karena kita lihat di sini masih kabut juga masih ada, kabut kemudian abu juga masih bertebaran. Kalau kita lihat sini, jadi itu yang menghambat kita saat ini.
Authorities have established an exclusion zone around the volcano's crater, prohibiting access to hikers and tourists within a 3-kilometer radius.
Arah angin ke arah utara dan radius aman masih di 3 km dan diharapkan kepada masyarakat tidak masuki radius aman dan yang beraktivitas di sekitar gunung api untuk menggunakan topi, masker, dan kacamata.
Indonesia is home to nearly 130 active volcanoes, making it one of the most volcanically active regions in the world. The Philippine Coast Guard has detected a significant increase in the number of Chinese vessels in the vicinity of Whitsun Reef, also known as Julian Felipe Reef. Now, the Coast Guard estimates that over 135 Chinese vessels are currently dispersed and scattered within the reef area, which is located approximately 320 kilometers west of Palawan Island. This alarming development has prompted the Philippine Coast Guard to issue radio challenges to the Chinese vessels, but no response has been received. The Coast Guard has described the presence of these vessels as illegal and has expressed concern over their potential impact on the region's security and stability.
What is just alarming about this is yung numero, no? Parang they're trying really to change the facts on the ground, no? So, as a result of this, no, nagdesisyon ang National Task Force West Philippine Sea na ipaalam ito sa publiko what is happening at this reef, yung Julian Felipe Reef na nagkakaroon na naman ng swarming at nagpadala tayo ng mga tropa doon. The Coast Guard vessels were dispatched to that area to fly the flag as well. Kasi kung ang Chinese Coast Guard at ang Chinese Maritime Militia are present there, no, flying their flag, the Philippines must also be represented. At pinaigting din natin yung ating maritime domain awareness to the deployment ng ating mga tropa para ipakita naman sa China na hindi natin ito binabaliwala, na pinoprotesta natin at hindi tayo natutuwa sa ginagawang swarming. Sa pagmamonitor natin, wala din tao yung mga yan. Pinark lang nila yan dyan. Pero mostly, it's just there, just, you know, to show to the world na etong lugar na yan ay sa amin. And tayo po, we do not accept that. And we will also we are deploying our assets as well.
The increasing presence of Chinese vessels in the South China Sea has been a source of tension for many years, as several countries, including the Philippines, Vietnam, and Malaysia, have overlapping territorial claims in the area. China maintains expansive claims over the South China Sea, asserting its sovereignty over most of the region despite the objections of its neighbors. The Philippines recently announced that it's establishing a Coast Guard station on Thitu Island, the largest island it holds in the South China Sea.
These systems will greatly enhance the PCG's ability to monitor the movements of the Chinese maritime forces, other countries that might be coming here, and also as well as our own public vessels and aircraft. Additionally, it could also support international shipping, as it could effectively monitor the distressed vessels. Will certainly have an impact on the behavior of all other claimants, particularly the Chinese. I positively anticipate that this increased visibility and awareness will gradually bring about changes in their actions. This facility is poised to be a game changer in promoting transparency and influencing their behavior to abide by international laws and support the rule-based order.
France and the Philippines have pledged to deepen their defense cooperation, taking tangible steps to enhance their partnership. This commitment was formalized during a recent meeting between French Minister for the Armed Forces, Sebastien Lecornu, and Philippine Defense Secretary Gilberto Teodoro Jr. In a joint statement, both sides expressed their intention to elevate their defense collaboration to a new level. And this includes initiating discussions on potential defense deals and exploring the possibility of a Visiting Forces Agreement, or VFA. A VFA would provide a legal framework for the temporary deployment of French military personnel in the country, and vice versa.
Pour avancer concrètement, nous venons de signer une lettre importante.
So, on very practical matters, we've just signed a very important letter
avec un certain nombre d'objectifs politiques
with a number of political goals,
et notamment celui de sécuriser juridiquement nos différents partenariats opérationnels.
Especially giving legal security to our operational partnerships.
Tout ça participe évidemment à un agenda de remontée en puissance de notre présence dans l'Indo-Pacifique.
So we are working on an agenda of strengthening our presence in the Indo-Pacific.
We intend to take concrete steps into leveling up and making more comprehensive our defense cooperation, principally by working to get authorization from our respective heads of state and relevant agencies to begin negotiations for a status of visiting forces agreement. And we agree to work on shared values, shared cooperation, not only in the South China Sea, but also in the Greater Pacific area, where France also has a presence, and which we want to further the defense cooperation and presence with the other oceanic nations.
This enhanced defense partnership between France and the Philippines reflects their shared commitment to regional security and stability. The defense chiefs of the U.S., Australia, and Britain met in Silicon Valley, California, to discuss enhanced technological cooperation in the face of growing global threats, particularly from China.
We had a very productive and wide-ranging session, and today just underscore that AUKUS is a once-in-a-generation opportunity that will promote peace and security throughout the Indo-Pacific. The department remains deeply focused on the Indo-Pacific, and AUKUS underscores that fact.
The trilateral meeting focused on the development of advanced capabilities in deep space radar, artificial intelligence, and quantum computing systems, with the aim of providing their armed forces with a decisive edge.
The man they dubbed at the time Mr. Searchlight Radar would have certainly appreciated another landmark agreement that we are signing today, because in the coming years our nations will be creating a global radar network, bringing together 3 ground-based stations, one in each of our countries. Radars more sensitive, more accurate, more powerful and agile than anything that has gone before, giving us the ability to see beyond the clouds and to detect, identify and track in space up to 22,000 miles away.
In addition to deep space radar, the countries will also coordinate on quantum technologies for navigation and weapons direction, as well as resilient artificial intelligence for precision targeting. The meeting marks a significant step in strengthening the AUKUS alliance, which was established in September 2021 to counter the assertiveness of China and Russia. The alliance has already seen agreements for Australia to acquire at least 3 nuclear-powered Virginia-class submarines, and for Britain and Australia to develop a new submarine model using U.S. technology.
Well, firstly, though, in terms of acquiring that capability, it will change the character of Australia in terms of what we are capable of doing. And that does not happen overnight. There is no showroom where you can go and buy a Virginia-class submarine. We are acquiring the capability to operate and build nuclear-powered submarines in Australia. It will be the biggest industrial endeavour that we have ever undertaken as a nation, and it is not going to happen overnight.
6 Thai hostages kidnapped and held for weeks in the Gaza Strip by the Hamas will arrive back in the kingdom today. Tens of thousands of Thais were working in Israel, mostly in the agricultural sector, when Palestinian militants poured over the border on October 7, killing 1,200 people, mostly civilians, and kidnapping roughly 240, according to Israeli authorities. At least 32 Thais were abducted by Hamas, with Bangkok's foreign ministry and Thai Muslim groups working to negotiate their release. Since their release, the group have been recuperating at a hospital in Israel as authorities made preparations to fly them home. It follows the return of 17 citizens from Thailand at the end of November during a temporary truce that saw scores of people released before it expired on December 1.
ดีใจนะครับที่ได้กลับมาเมืองไทยก็ให้การช่วยเหลือนะครับขอบคุณกระทรวงแรงงานต่างประเทศและก็ทางอิสราเอลด้วยนะครับดูแลผมเป็นอย่างดีนะครับขอบคุณครับ
Meanwhile, the White House believes Israel is making an effort to minimize civilian deaths in Gaza, according to a senior official, as international concern mounted over the numbers killed in the resumed war with Hamas.
First of all, we completely agree that far too many people have been killed in this war. It's a sad fact that everyone who has been killed since October 7th, since 6:30 in the morning, would still be alive if Hamas had not decided to launch this war with the October 7th massacre and to fight this war from inside densely populated areas that it has been trying to prevent being evacuated. Sad fact is, Hamas has spent the last 16 years cynically embedding its terror infrastructure under schools, under mosques, under homes, under hospitals, as we've all seen from the extensive evidence of the tunnel network under the Shifa hospital. So the IDF, while Hamas has been trying to maximize civilian casualties, has been making every effort to minimize civilian casualties. Fair to say we definitely surrendered the element of surprise as well with those extensive efforts that we made to get civilians out of harm's way. Those efforts to protect Palestinian civilians from their own leaders' reckless decisions to try to use them as human shields are ongoing.
In other news tonight, French President Emmanuel Macron and Vietnamese Prime Minister Pham Minh Chinh held a bilateral meeting on the sidelines of the COP28 climate conference in Dubai. During the meeting, Prime Minister Chinh commended the strong progress made in the Vietnam-France strategic partnership and called for further strengthening of cooperation between the two countries. He also requested France to expedite the ratification of the Vietnam-EU Investment Protection Agreement, or EVIPA. President Macron responded by expressing his intention to send ministerial delegations to Vietnam to discuss specific cooperation initiatives, particularly in the areas of economics, trade, and investment. In a significant step towards combating climate change, over 110 countries have committed to tripling the world's renewable energy capacity by 2030. This pledge was announced at the ongoing COP28 climate conference being held in the United Arab Emirates.
The COP28 presidency is asking all parties to sign the global pledge to triple renewable energy capacity and double energy efficiency by 2030. Up until this moment, before I stepped on stage, we have received 117 signatories representing 117 countries. So 117 countries have endorsed the pledge, but I do need more. And I'm kindly requesting all parties to come on board as soon as possible, please. This can and will help transition the world away from unabated coal.
We invested roughly $1 trillion over the next 10 years to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, boost climate resilience, and support adaptation and build a clean energy economy. The largest investment in climate not only in the history of our country, but in the history of the world. Today, the United States is proud to join more than 115 nations in a commitment to double energy efficiency and to triple renewable energy capacity by 2030.
So I call now on all of us to include these targets in the final COP decision, because this sends a strong message to investors and consumers alike. There is no doubt the future of energy will be clean, it will be affordable, and it will be homegrown.
Meanwhile, in a key development at the COP28 climate negotiations in Dubai, World Bank President Ajay Banga stated that donor countries and recipient nations will likely have joint control over the allocation of financial resources for the newly established Loss and Damage Fund. To date, around $700 million has been pledged to the fund, which aims to assist countries affected by climate change, and this amount falls short of the $100 billion sought by developing nations to address the escalating costs of climate change.
The fact that 420 million have already shown up, and I think more will come, is a good sign. The reality is the bank is currently not planning to play the role of allocating the money. That'll be done by a governing board that needs to be created that should have representation from the donor countries as well as the recipient countries. Our job is like a trustee. We run it, we operate it, we help to make sure the money goes to the right places, and because we know how to do that. But we're not actually currently being seen as the people who decide which dollars go to whom and which go to whom. That could change. There's conversations going on in the countries that could change that, but currently that is not the case.
Port Moresby hosted the second National Summit on Women's Empowerment and Protection, addressing critical issues such as gender-based violence, sorcery accusation-related violence, and sexual violence in the family. Eco Hortaleza Quinola reports.
The second National Summit for Gender Equality and Women's Economic Empowerment is now happening at the APEC House, Port Moresby.
This summit is very important because this conversation and agenda must be brought to the mainstream, and we discuss it openly, so we understand the context of it and the benefit of it, so we can manifest it.
The two-day summit underscores sharing of expertise to empower political, civil society, and private sector leaders to take action in gender equality in Papua New Guinea.
Yeah, firstly, women and girls of our country are equal citizens. They have the right to benefit from all the development resources, opportunities of our country. I believe that our country can, be much greater than it is now if women and girls and men and boys, we all work together in all space, partnering, sharing, helping, supporting, leading, and being innovative together.
The summit aims to produce actions aimed at eliminating all forms of gender-based violence, sorcery accusation-related violence, and sexual violence in the family. United Nations Women Uganda representative Adekemi Nedeli says that collective resolve to address the root cause of violence is paramount.
Women and girls have been pushed back for too long. The issues that women and girls face are very complex, interconnected, and therefore it needs all of government, all of actors to drive change.
She says violence against women and girls is an affront to human dignity.
In Papua New Guinea in particular, the figures are alarming. This is a renewed drive to have us revitalize the advocacy, revitalize the drive, and make sure that we can bring about a change and transformation in the lives of women in Papua New Guinea.
A citywide campaign to promote gender equality is done through a Red Vember walk. Citizens and non-citizens residing at Port Moresby show support to the advocacy.
With this parliamentary committee that has been created, we have a whole new opportunity to make a change.
From Port Moresby, Papua New Guinea, Eco Hortaleza Quinola, Eagle News, we live in extraordinary times.
Filipino-American Oscar-nominated animator Bobby Pontillas helped design the first ever Filipino Muppet. And here's an exclusive interview with our Net25 Hollywood correspondent, MJ Racadio.
Oscar-nominated animator Bobby Pontillas talked about the importance of representation in Hollywood. Plus, he helped the first ever Filipino Muppet on Sesame Street. Take a look.
Show your confidence.
Oh, well, I'm learning Tagalog. It's a language my Filipino family speaks, and I have confidence because I can always ask my Lola for help when I don't know a word.
Yeah. How did this, project come about, and what was the process like? Share us.
Yep. So I got to shout out Rosemary Palacios. She's in the animation industry, and she worked at DreamWorks at the time, and we met through a Filipino American creative panel in the quarantine. She was at DreamWorks. She was in the production side of it, and so we just got to know each other that way. A Filipino American Muppet, would you like to be a part of the design process of it? I was like, yes. Yeah. There was no yeah. But the cool thing about it, MJ, beyond just kind of like Sesame Workshop, kind of giving that opportunity, when I actually met the actual puppeteers that were gonna make it, they were so open-minded about what they wanted to tap into Rosemary and I's opinion on what felt Filipino, which is a really, really slippery slope, right? Because, we're not a monolith, obviously, but what do you kind of feels authentically Filipino? What would you love to see in a Filipino Muppet? And so me, he talked Louis Mitchell, the lead character designer who headed up the design of the Muppet, TJ. He's like, what do you want to see? What do you think needs to be? What do you think needs to be seen? And I told him straight up. I was like, all right, you need the nose, you need the kind of darker skin, just kind of. I just very adamant about features and kind of
brown skin. So basically, it's brown skin.
Beautiful brown mochaccino skin, beautiful wide nose. Tell your authentic stories. The life is short. Your Hollywood life is even shorter. You only have one knock at it, and everyone's trying to stand out. The only way that you stand out is if you tell authentic stories. And by that, I mean stories that come from your culture, your family, people that you know, your uncles that you love, your aunties that you know, experiences that you've been through before. That's the only way that you're going to stand out, and it'll mean more to you.
That is it for entertainment news. MJ Racadio here. Always tune into Net25 because we live in extraordinary times.
As my usual habit, I'd like to end the day on a positive note. Let's encourage and build each other up so that no one is left behind. And that's it for tonight's broadcast. I'm Alma Angeles. Stay in the news because we live in extraordinary times. Good night.